Everyone has a favourite weapon, whether it be Lincoln's repeater, fire lance, or even A321's plasma rifle. But what if you wanted to use something a little less devastating? So much so a 10-year-old child could use it. In today's video, we'll be finding out if you can beat Fallout 3 using only a BB gun. After getting born, I chose to be a girl, gave myself an appropriate name, and increased agility to 9, because that affects the small gun skill and increases the amount of times I'll be able to use VATS. As I mentioned in the previous video, when using VATS, your chances of dealing a critical hit are improved by 15%. What I failed to mention was that weapons degrade 4 times as fast, so I would only be using VATS to deal with the most challenging of enemies. With that said, I attended my 10th birthday party, tried to put a hat on Officer Gomez, that didn't work, and to make matters worse, Andy destroyed the cake. Butch and his friends didn't much like me already, so I had to improvise. There wasn't any entertainment for some reason, thanks Dad. To make up for it, I started flipping hats. That was something cool people did, right? Flipped things. This didn't seem to impress them, so I started doing magic. I mean, who doesn't like magic? Although I was able to make the hat disappear and reappear several times, I couldn't tell you why it happened, and Butch still didn't like me. So I went downstairs to kill something, Dad gave me the BB gun, and the radroach got dead. As usual, I couldn't do anything about the bullies, chose repair, small guns and sneak, and woke up with a martyr handing me an eviction notice. On the table was the BB gun, along with 50 BBs. I had no idea how sparse these things would be, and I wasn't going to waste them here in Vault 101, so I fled the vault without attacking. Outside I hit level 2, increasing small guns and speech, also choosing the Black Widow perk. Now, BB guns are semi-rare, you can sometimes find certain merchants selling them, and there's a short list of locations where they always spawn, along with BBs. After looking through the list on the Fallout wiki, I decided which ones I would go for. They had little to no enemies, were easy to reach, and more importantly, always spawned. The first location I went to was the Bailey's Crossroad Metro. Inside I encountered 2 ghouls, between them it took 9 BBs, and visions of running out of ammo filled my mind. Pushing the thoughts aside, I went to the makeshift shooting range, grabbed the BB gun, and in total found 100 BBs. That was a good feeling. My next location was Tenpenny Tower. I had yet to complete a quest and only had 19 caps to my name. As I was thinking of a way to get some more so I could bribe my way inside, I passed a random encounter just outside Tenpenny Tower. Inside the derelict building was a Protectron and the body of a scavenger. The Fallout gods were smiling down on me that day because inside his pockets was 131 caps. After waiting for Roy Phillips to leave, I bribed Gustavo to let me in. There goes 100 caps already. And began trading everything I had for the BBs. With another 200 BBs to my name, I set out for the next location, the VAPL-58 power station. By heading inside and using the ladder, we can gain access to the roof, where another BB gun can be found along with 33 BBs. If you plan to try the challenge for yourself, keep in mind that the amount of BBs can vary. On the way to the next location, an unmarked location near the scrapyard, I encountered Crazy Wolfgang outside of Arafu, did some trading and got him to repair what he could. Pressing on, I came to Big Town. Now I had no intentions of coming here, but it was on the list of locations where you could find a few BBs. The reason I didn't plan to come here was in order to get the BBs, you would have to steal them from Kimber. I didn't want to steal, but I was here and it was night, meaning she would already be asleep. Dusty let me inside and I found Kimber sleeping in the common house. Searching her pockets, she only had 28 BBs. I tried to steal them, but she caught me. I reloaded, tried again, succeeded, and fled the crime scene with my bag full of balls. Now onto the location I was actually heading to. After a few issues with the compass, I found the scrapyard, headed northwest until finding the power station, then headed to the southern pylon, where a BB gun and 13 BBs lay beside a skeleton. You'll notice the ammo count increased by 1 when I pick up the BB gun. I guess there was 1 already inside. I still had a couple of merchants to visit in the hopes of getting more BBs, and there was still a location I deemed safe enough to go to where I could grab another BB gun. More on that later, because I was finally ready to get on with the main quest. Fast travelling back to Tenpenny Tower, I started making my way to Smith Casey's, killing a bloatfly and vicious dog along the way. I found myself using VATS on smaller enemies to minimise the risk of missing and wasting ammo. At Smith Casey's, I killed a radroach with a sneak attack and tried doing the same to the mole rats, but that didn't work. I had forgot that I'd turned on the Pip-Boy light and continued to try and sneak. As you can imagine, that didn't work. I did figure out the problem just in time to try again on the final mole rat, and you can't hear it, but I actually got up and walked away after realising what I'd done. The rest of Smith Casey's and Vault 112 was the same as usual. Dad was saved and I hit level 3, increasing small guns and choosing the gun nut perk. While Dad made his way to Rivet City, I stopped off at Megaton to see if Moira Brown had any BBs. She didn't, so I drowned my sorrows in the filthy water spewing from the pipes, fixed said pipes, sold scrap metal, and hit level 4, increasing small guns and sneak, also choosing the Child at Heart perk to avoid the whole fiasco at Little Lamplight. Outside Megaton I met Lucky Harith, who was said to sell BB guns and BBs, but only once you've invested in him. I hadn't and wasn't going to, so that was a bust. The next port of call was Rivet City. Megaton was the closest location I had found so far, so I started running. Killed one annoying creature to only get pestered by another, got blown up by an invisible mine near the Anchorage Memorial, tried to sneak attack a dog, failed, used VATS, and went to Dukov's on the other side of the river. This time my alerts weren't on the guest list, I stole the BB gun from the upper floor, and killed a raider with a single BB. It was a sneak attack, and the raider wasn't at full health for some reason. The other 2 raiders both took 2 shots to the head with VATS, which gave me a much needed morale boost. So human enemies weren't going to be an issue. Centaurs, on the other hand, well, that's a different story. This is gonna take a while. To avoid the other nearby mutants, I went swimming, looted the broken boat near the Citadel, and learned that the BB gun sucked even harder when dealing with super mutants. Even with VATS and sneak attacks, it took a very long time, but I did manage to avoid taking damage by jumping down and letting the mutant's intelligence do the rest. After using 8 BBs, 3 sneak attacks, 2 shots with VATS, the mutant was finally dead, and I thought it best to ignore the rest and head straight for Rivet City. While there, I traded with Shrapnel for a BB gun and 204 more BBs. Unlike his counterpart, he didn't have a radiation suit I could use for Vault 87, so I'll check back later and see if All Reliable Flak can sort things out. At the science lab, Dad rounded up the puppies, I waited till morning, then fast travelled to the Jefferson Memorial, where things went downhill. I had yet to clear the mutants outside the memorial, and one of them had wandered too close. Gaza actually put up a fight, but he died. So Dad and I put the mutant down together, and then he asked me to do the impossible. Take out the mutants inside the memorial, by myself, with a BB gun. With no other option, I agreed, went inside, and got a sneak attack straight away. Janice Kaplinski went unconscious, meaning that the other mutants outside had started attacking. I could worry about those later. You'll notice that I actually came up with a technique for dealing with the mutants, at least the ones wielding nail boards. Every time they would charge forward, I could step aside without taking any damage, turn around, and still have time to shoot the mutant a single time. Things were looking up. I played whack-a-mole with the turret, which I couldn't attack using VATS, not sure why, danced with several more mutants, and came up against a real threat, mutants with guns. The only option here was to try and put something between us and peek out after they had shot to return fire. It takes a while and it doesn't always work, but it's better than standing straight in front of them and praying you have enough food and medicine to outlive them. With multiple enemies, including my first brute, I was overwhelmed, but I did manage to kill one before retreating to the previous room. They followed, we danced, the super mutant died, and the brute stepped in to take his place. In total, it took 22 BBs to kill the brute. Some of those were critical, and the majority were done using VATS. I did my best to use cover, but I did consume a lot of food, including Nuka-Cola Quantum, which increased my action points by 20, which was enough to allow me another shot using VATS, giving me 3 instead of 2. After many more mutants and countless BBs, the memorial was clear, and I went back outside to tell Dad the good news. Before I could, 2 mutants with hunting rifles started shooting. I ran away, drank some water, and helped from a distance. but Dad seemed to do more damage than I, so no XP was given. Sad times indeed. After some free labor, the Enclave invaded, and this sucked just as much, or maybe even more, than dealing with a brute. I think that's because the Enclave have even better weapons, so I took more damage. We did play cat and mouse for a little bit, but ultimately the soldier died after 15 BBs. To celebrate this victory, Dad organized a sleepover. Dr. Lee's parents said she couldn't stay, so I had to walk her home. Some other guys came with, but they panicked at the first sign of ghouls and died shortly after. I could have tried harder to keep them alive, but I needed to pee and told myself I could take a break at the Citadel, so I was in quite the hurry. Outside the Citadel, Dr. Lee got the gate open, and I took a break, also hitting level 5, increasing sneak, and choosing the second rank of the Gun Nut perk. Inside the Citadel, I received power armor training from Gunny, put on the Enclave armor I picked up from the Jefferson Memorial, and got the location to Vault 87 from Scribe Rothschild. I also got Elder Lions to give me access to the armory, allowing me to trade with Knight Captain Durga for 100 BBs. With a good amount of ammo, I headed for Little Lamplight, made a quick pit stop at the Rivet City marketplace, spoke to Flack, bought an advanced radiation suit, left, tried getting a mole rat to attack a Brahmin. That didn't work, so I killed the mole rat and showed the Brahmin what happens to those that can't cooperate. Lamplight was as simple as ever: McCready, Child at Heart perk, Murder Pass. The mutants here weren't too bad. Thanks to the long passages, the BB gun's accuracy, and the darkness of it all, I was able to take out a brute with little to no effort. I also found this sweet little spot behind a wall of sandbags that I could shoot from while crouching and took no damage whatsoever. Just before the door to Vault 87, I came across another brute wielding a sledgehammer. I was trying to lure them closer and planned to shoot a grenade bouquet, and while I was mulling over the idea of whether shooting an explosive with a BB gun was cheating, they ran away, so I just went through the door and hit level 6, increasing small guns to 100 and sneak to 60, also choosing the Bloody Mess perk, granting me 5% overall damage. Something told me I was gonna need it. I started off by shooting the mutants from the shadows to get a critical hit, ran away and hid until they stopped searching, and then shot them again. This took a really long time and wasn't that effective, so I just went with the dodge what you can and aim for the face approach. There was a point where it became a 2v1, so I ran to the restroom and planned to hide in one of the stalls until they left. They didn't leave, but I was able to pop my head up, shoot, and duck back down before taking damage. Oh boy did I feel dirty, but that might have had something to do with standing in the toilet. Either way, the mutants were almost dead, and the game crashed. Fortunately, I quick saved after the first one died, so using the same approach I took care of the second, and continued making my way through Vault 87, using whatever I could find for cover. The hardest section was when I had to deal with 2 brutes at once, and they both had assault rifles, but with enough VATS, Nuka-Cola Quantum, Stimpaks, and Patience, I was victorious. The rest of the vault was simple enough: shoot, hide, shoot some more, and let's not forget, ignoring Forks because George W. Sage is a strong, independent woman. With Rad X and the suit from Flack, I retrieved the GECK, blinked, and found myself at Raven Rock. After dealing with the super mutants at Vault 87, I had used up the majority of my BBs, and I was a little worried that I wouldn't have enough to get through the Jefferson Memorial, so I made a conscious decision to kill the first Enclave soldier I saw, which just so happened to be an officer, kill Anna Holt because it's tradition, and ran past everything else. Eden didn't want to be my friend, but he did give me some poison, which was nice. The sentry bot secured the way out. I took the Tesla armor and went to Megaton to see if Moira had any BBs. It was another bust, so I left and went to the Citadel to wrap things up. The Iron Giant started walking, and the rest of us followed. I felt more out of place with the BB gun than I did when I was using only my fists, but I did help where I could, and while the BB gun seemed to be accurate at a distance, this was too far. I think I could have killed him eventually, but this really wasn't the time to be trying. Inside the Citadel, I used VATS as much as I could, got crippled a bunch, but somehow managed to come out on top. At the Rotunda, the Enclave's highest ranking officer was killed with a child's toy. I activated the purifier with 16 BBs left, and the run was officially complete. So to answer the question, can you beat Fallout 3 using only a BB gun? Yes, you can. Be sure to show your support by liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already for more Fallout content. If there's anything you would like to see in a later video, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. With that said, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.